Squirrels! As I'm speaking, we have just reached the time for new card reveals. There was no champion, so I'm expecting sort of other regions to get their cards, and that's what it looks like because we've got Targon's card here. It's an 8 mana grant an ally in hand 8/8. Destiny's Call, burst speed spell. Grant an ally in hand 8/8. 8 mana, I mean, it is burst speed, but the thing is, of course, if you're playing this, like, what's the earliest turn that you can play this? Turn 5, if you just pass on turn 5 and you've saved up spell mana on turn 6, you can put down this absolute beast of a unit. But it does have to be in hand, so I don't really see anything coming of this, because, of course, it's the kind of thing that could fit with Fiora, of course. That seems the most obvious synergy, but you have to have Fiora in hand, and that feels kind of bad. So I don't really see anything for Destiny's Call, which is probably good because it's in Targon, and we could kind of use without too many good Targon cards, I think. The next one is another Targon card, a landmark 2 mana Star-Tripped Peak, which is Countdown 2. Create 2 random Celestial cards that cost 3 or less in hand. Create 2 random Celestial cards that cost 3 or less in hand. It is random, which does take away some of the sort of, you know, the goodness of these Celestials that cost 3 or less, because of course Celestials that cost 3 or less, like Crescent Strike, can be massive in certain games, but in others it's like you would not really pick it. Equinox is definitely that, and that's why I have a big problem with Equinox. Equinox is absolutely game winning in some games and completely useless in others, so you know, that's not great. The dog is probably fine most of the time. The snake is okay probably most of the time. The elusive is meh most of the time. The overwhelm one is okay, and the moonglow is probably okay most of the time as well. So it's not terrible. It's definitely interesting. You know, maybe we could see Talia go into Targon because Targon is just so strong anyway. That's where you want to go. You want to go Talia. This is a landmark for Talia in Targon, and Targon's strong, so why not just play Targon, right? It very well could be that is the best way to play Talia, which is very unfortunate. But yeah, that very well could be the case. On to this next card. The next two are Bilgewater Cards. 4 mana, Lost Riches, burst speed spell. Draw a treasure. This is what I'm looking for. Draw a treasure. If there aren't any to draw, create 2 treasures in your deck instead. Ooh. So, of course, I'm pretty sure the only card that creates a treasure is Shipwreck Hoarder. The treasures are the 3 5-mana cards. One creates like 5 free spells. One like creates 3 5/5s, and one deals 5 to either all units or just your enemy's units. I can't quite recall off the top of my head. But a treasure deck, I kind of wish they'd put more of this stuff in. It feels like, unfortunately, because there's only one card that does this, that there isn't going to be quite enough to do for it. But if they do start adding more and more cards that, you know, get you these treasures, then we can really start talking about like a treasure deck, and I think that would be super, super cool. Of course, it's going to be tough to balance because those cards are pretty strong, so you know, you do have to make sure that they're not too easy to get, which a 4 mana burst speed spell definitely isn't. So unfortunately, I don't really see this going anywhere. You know, maybe you could experiment with a Twisted Fate Shipwreck Hoarder deck, right? You could do something like that. Of course, it does draw a card, and or, you know, you're going to be in Twisted Fate, so you're going to be drawing a lot anyway, so, you know, you're probably going to be looking for those treasures, and yeah. But I don't really see much for it. Loaded Dice is a 4 mana slow speed spell. For the rest of the round, when you damage the enemy nexus, nab 1. I mean, that is a funny card. For the rest of the round, when you damage the enemy nexus, nab 1. I mean, I don't think it's a good card. I think it's a funny card. Obviously, my problem with this card is you kind of have to play this before you attack. You can only play it really on turns that you attack. You have to play this. Then your opponent knows that you're doing this anyway. You know, this card would be a lot better if it was, you know, for each individual time you've damaged the enemy nexus this round, nab 1. Because then you could play it afterwards. But because it's for the rest of the round after you've played this, your opponent is going to know, oh, well, they're doing this now, you know, stop them from doing this, right? Like, it's not rocket science. You know, you're going to be thinking about what cards they could have to do so. And what cards could you have to do so? Well, of course, Warning Shot comes to mind. Of course, Combat, Twisted Fate himself, and his red card. Make It Rain, perhaps, all come to mind within Bilgewater alone. Of course, there's many others, like in P&Z, Mystic Shot, Get Excited, all that. In Noxus, there's plenty of new ways as well. Now, it's interesting. Does this count for, each different unit? Does that count as different damage? Or is that, combat damage is one, a Warning Shot is a different one? I'm not quite sure. I don't think it'll really matter because I don't think that this card will see too much play. Going on to the Ionia cards here, we have Shadow Apprentice, which is a 1-mana 1/1. Elusive. When I'm summoned, grant me 1/1 if an ally has Ephemeral. Interesting. So you could synergize this with Pesky Spectre. That's, a turn 1 play for this Shadow Apprentice. Ionia hasn't really been used in the ephemeral synergies too much, and for pretty good reason. It's probably one of the big reasons why Ionia struggles as a region, is because quite a few of its sort of key concepts just aren't good. And Shadow Apprentice unfortunately fits within that, and I just don't think there is enough ephemeral support for Ionia in general. I don't think you want to play Zed with Shadow Isles. And obviously this is meant to be a Z-like card, and so I just don't quite see it, unfortunately. I don't think it's going to come to the forefront. But there perhaps is some synergy that I'm missing. Maybe you can grant something ephemeral first, and then play this. That kind of thing could happen. Field Musicians is a 4-mana 1/4 tune. Each round, once you've summoned 3 other allies, refill your spell mana and draw 1. Wow, okay, now this is a much more interesting card. Each round, once you've summoned 3 other allies, refill your spell mana and draw 1. So how do you summon 3 allies, right? How do you do that? Because that's really all that's going to be to this card. And if this thing stays on the board, whoa, you're getting so much value from it. Of course, Eye of the Dragon will summon a Dragonling, which will be 1. So then you'd only need 2 more. So let's think about, how do we get 2 more, right? Well, if you've got a Aphelios, you can potentially Crescendum. That would be 1. And obviously, if you've played a Aphelios as well, that would be the full 3. You'd get your spell mana. You'd draw a card, right? That would be really, really good. The Ionia Allegiance card, if Allegiance procs, then that is 3 straight up. You would get that back and draw 1, right? So that seems pretty good. It is quite a slow play, so I do think you do have to be in, kind of a more, I'm not sure it would go in Lee Sin, but, that kind of pace of deck seems about right. Particularly Eye of the Dragon sort of has to be a focus of this, I think, because that gives you the free dragon, which will summon 1. And if you've got 2 Eye of the Dragons, then that is already 2 done, and you just have to play a unit. So an interesting card, a really, really interesting card. It definitely can be good. I'm just not sure if it is good right now, but if Ionia was better as a region, if this was in Targon, this would be broken. Seriously, this would be so busted. It's unbelievable. That's the kind of level that we're looking at with this card. It can be good, but it's in a region that doesn't have a lot of good things with it, so it might struggle a bit more. But, I mean, if this was in Targon, and that might be the best way to play this, with, Zoe and just summoning a bunch of Celestials, you get the dog, you get the snake, right? And you just play for that, like a Zoe Aphelios deck with this, and just go with the Veiled Temple as well, right? Just full mana, just essentially play your entire hand out on turn 6 and 5 and just, go wild. So it could see some play. I'm excited about this card. Then on to P&Z. We got a 0 mana slow speed spell. To play, spend all your mana. Summon random turrets whose total cost equals the mana spent. Wow, okay. This is a really interesting card, I think. So similar to Thermo Beam, right? It's got the same properties. You could just get 1. I suppose if it's anything less than 8, you could just get 1 turret, right, of whatever the relevant cost is. So when does this become statistically worth it? I have no idea. It seems like sort of mathematical problem to have. They've all got 1 health, so I don't think this can be good simply because they all have 1 health. I don't know. It's a really interesting card, right? But you wouldn't pay 6 mana to summon a 6/1. Like, you have to be above 8, I would think, to ever make this truly worth it. Because on 8, you know, you could get either one big thing or, like, you know, at least you're getting 2 units, which is good, right? 8 is the thing where you have to start with this card and then go up from that. And, you know, for that amount of mana, I don't think we will see it played, unfortunately. Concurrent Timelines, however, is a 1 mana slow speed spell. Shouldn't say however, because I haven't read the card yet. For the rest of the game, the first time you play a follower each round, pick one of 3 followers with the same cost to transform it into. Oh my god. Whoa. What? The first time you play a follower each round, so it is play, it's not summon. That's important to note. Pick one of 3 followers with the same cost to transform it into. How do you build a deck around that? What do you do? Is that good? I have no idea. What deck would you play that in? Is it meant to be Heimerdinger? Like, I'm struggling to see what the synergy is, but of course, if you play the 0 mana turrets, does it then give you, like, other turrets to choose? But are they followers? I don't think they are. I don't think they'd count. But it is play a unit. I don't think that does work. But if it did, then that would be interesting, because, you know, you could turn your 2 mana turret into an 8 mana, you know, the T-Hex, right? That is, to me, where it gets interesting, if it works like that. But I feel like it doesn't, because I don't think they're followers. I think they're created cards, which are, you know, exist in a different realm. But if that's wrong, then Heimer is the way to play this, right? Because then you could just play Heimer with a bunch of small spells. You just play Heimer with a bunch of small spells and get the big turrets anyway. You know, and that's perfect. That would be the dream, you know. Don't matter with the big spells. Just play a bunch of little ones. Play this on turn 1, you know. Play a bunch of small spells with Heimer, get Heimer down, and just go pew, 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 pew with all your small spells, and then summon a bunch of T-Hexes. If it works like that. I feel like it might not, and if it doesn't, then I have no idea where to play this card, but it is very fun, and I like that. But I don't know what to say about it, to be honest. Okay, Noxus cards. Crimson, Bloodletter, Crimson. 1 mana 1/2, the next time you summon another ally, deal 1 to it, and grant me 1/1. I'm guessing this is just the first time, right? Because, like, I feel like if that was the words on a magic card, then that would be something that keeps happening, right? The next time you summon another ally. And then it happens the next time again, right? But I'm pretty sure that is just the first one. Obviously, it is a nice Crimson synergy. It is also a nice Scargrounds synergy. It'll definitely get played in Scargrounds decks. I would have thought it's a, you know, nice 1 mana, essentially a 2/3, you know, later on. It seems like a pretty decent card for those synergies. It's the kind of card that I think they need. So yeah, pretty happy about that card. Pretty nice to see Crimson's getting extra things. Now this I love. Strength in numbers. Summon 2 Legion Marauders. I could not ask for anything better. You know, those of you who are big fans of this channel will know I played my Legion Marauder deck. It's called Marauders and Mistwraiths. Essentially, it was just all Legion Marauders and Mistwraiths and or other ways of getting Legion Marauders and or Mistwraiths. This is well down my alley. I love those cards. Give me this. Obviously, it's not good, but give me this because that's super fun, right? And essentially, if you do get this off on turn, let's say 5, right? And then you attack with them, you do have 2 5/4s. So, and if you've attacked with other Legion Marauders, you have 6 5s, 7 6. It's not the worst thing in the world, right? But obviously it's not playable. Oh, a spider, a Noxian spider. I love this. They're sort of bringing back these old synergies. 4 mana 2/5. Attack, grant spider allies 1/0. Wow. I mean, wow. Could we see a return of spiders? I think absolutely. Why not? You know, all the spider cards on their own are kind of good. You know, they're not bad, especially if Twisted Fate gets nerfed. Obviously, Twisted Fate is kind of a big counter to spiders because a lot of them have 1 health. And they die to that. But a lot of the spider cards in general are good, right? Precious Pet, great 1-drop. House Spider, great 2-drop. Frenzied Skira, great 3-drop, right? Like, there's Elise, great champion. You know, there's definitely things there, right? Right there, I just gave you a bunch of cards that would obviously be 3-ofs in the deck and are good. And this, with a 2/5 stat line, I'm guessing it counts itself as well, right? Because it is a spider. Or is it allies? I'm not quite sure on that one, but either way, it doesn't really matter. Obviously, that would help if it does buff its attack as well. But either way, it's a good card. It's a very, very good card. That's going to cause a lot of problems. Wow. Spiders are back. I love it. I love spiders. Get them back in the game. I absolutely love it. I think that was my first ever deck I made with Spider Aggro, so I'm happy to see it back. Then Soul Spinner, another spider. 3 mana, 3/2. This is Shadow Isles, though. When I'm summoned, grant me 1/1 and fearsome if an ally died this round. See, this one feels less spider to me, like less going in that spider deck, but more so going in a potential, fearsome deck or a death deck, the Slay deck. I'm not sure it'll go in that, but 4/3 fearsome. Maybe that's not that good. Yeah, I'm not sure this is a good card. This one is really exciting. This one, less so. Sea Scarab is a sea monster. I love them buffing all these things. This one's in Shadow Isles, important. A 2 mana 1/2 deep. Okay. When another ally dies or last breath, I was like, what's this symbol? Or last breath. When another ally dies. When another ally dies, or last breath, toss 1. Okay, we're there. Now this, I'm pretty sure, is like a nerf to some other cards, though, right? Like Jewel Hunters gives you a random sea monster in hand, so it could give you this now, which is probably not where you want to be with Jewel Hunters, to be honest. Is this good in the deep deck in general? Yeah. It's more, in fact. This is a very good synergy for Maokai. More so than the deep deck, this is a Maokai thing. Because think about it. Maokai wants things to die and toss things. Well, this is kind of everything in that. And also has deep, so it becomes a 4/5. That's nice as well. Yeah, that's exactly what Maokai wants. Maybe Maokai, I still don't expect him to be playable. It's kind of a worse Lysandra, I think, at this point. But, maybe this helps along, kind of all-in Maokai decks. And we have some Demacia cards as well here. Dragon Chow. 1 mana 0/3. When you play a dragon, it strikes me and you draw 1. Are there any dragons that... What's the lowest dragon attack? Is it 4? Is there any dragons that cost less? That have less attack? I feel like they don't. Because obviously if you could get this to survive... If this can survive a strike, then of course it becomes good, right? As soon as it gets 2 off, then it's worth it, right? Essentially you've played a 1 mana draw 2. Which is really good, right? A 1 mana draw 1, to be fair, isn't that bad. And it also can block. Well, this is actually a pretty decent card the more I think about it. Like a 1 mana, just draw a card the next time you play a dragon, which obviously if you have enough dragons will happen. It's a 0/3. It could, just block something for you. A 2/1 on turn 1. Just block it. Have a dragon kill it, soon after. You're feeling good, right? I like this. I like this card. This is a neat way of designing a card. And obviously, as I mentioned, if it can survive, if you can find a way to make it survive, then even better. Towering Stonehorn, a 6 mana 7/7. I don't take damage from enemy spells or skills. So just combat, right? Not missing anything. It can still be vengeanced and committed and all the like. But any damage effects, not that important. But the problem with this is you've got 7 health anyway. I mean, it is a 6-drop, so that's nice. But it's got 7 health anyway. Generally you don't see like a, Thermobeam, Mystic Shot get excited on these 7-drops anyway. So it's not that big of a deal, I don't think. Like if this was like a 3 mana 3/4 or something, that's kind of an interesting like dynamic. Or if this was on some other card, right? Then that's a way to make a card just completely busted. But I don't think that this is really a card that makes that much sense. Like a similar kind of effect is on what the Armored Elephant thing in Noxus. I can't think of its name. And it doesn't really see play. It's not exactly this effect. It's like doesn't take damage from anything with less than 5 attack. But yeah, it's just too slow for this kind of effect. I think Freljord, 2 mana, burst speed spell. Grant the top ally in your deck 2/2. Enlightened. Instead, grant all allies in your deck 2/2. Okay. Well, the Enlightened, like, obviously we're thinking Anivia at that point, but like, what deck really needs that effect? Grant the top ally in your deck 2/2. Like, Overwhelm is obviously like probably the best Freljord thing for that. Is giving an Overwhelm unit 2/2 ever worth 2 mana? I don't think so. You know, some of those decks started carrying Omen Hawk. That's a 1 mana 1/1 that gives, 3 units 1/1. Or is it 2? Man, am I losing my mind? Either way, yeah, I don't think this will be played because I can't think of any deck that like gets to turn 10 and it's like, yes, now let's go. Like, don't get me wrong, this is a neat ability, right? We've seen Cosmic Inspiration be a card that makes a difference in a game, but this does only affect allies in your deck, which kind of matters as well. Like, how late in the game do you have to be for this to make sense, right? Spoils of War, our last card, is a 3 mana burst speed spell. Grant an ally 1/2. Plunder, grant 2/4 instead. Ooh. 3 mana, grant 2/4. It's good on anything with like regeneration. Grant an ally 1/2. Plunder, get it 2/4. Again, it just seems a bit too costly to ever really, I think, make sense. But maybe that's just me. So we got 2 cards in a lot of different regions. I'm just going to quickly sort of remind myself and refresh. And so this card, I don't think we'll see play. Don't worry about it. This card might see some play. You could see, as I mentioned, Talia. Sorry if I got that wrong earlier, but Talia. I will slowly get there with that name. Talia deck with Targon. Could see some play there. Lost Riches. If there's more treasures, then sure. Loaded Dice, probably not. Shadow Apprentice, probably not. Field Musicians, very interesting card. I'd love to see someone build a deck around this and it be competitive. I think that would be super fun. Production Surge, probably not. Really funny card, probably not. Concurrent Timelines, maybe. I have absolutely no idea. Very well could be a good card, but who knows, right? It's definitely interesting. It completely changes the game. So yeah, really, really fun. We'll see. Crimson Bloodletter, pretty solid card. Strength in Numbers, I love this card, but let's not go too crazy with it. Shrieking Spinner, probably the best card of all of them if I had to guess. Just seems like a pretty good card. The 5 health really helps it. It means that you'll probably get 2 attacks no matter what. You want to be going wide. Obviously, you want to be all in on spiders as well, but that's not too bad because there is quite a few good spider cards. Soul Spinner, though, not a great spider card. 4/3 fearsome just isn't as valuable. Because it gets blocked by anything with 3 attack anyway, right? This Sea Monster, really cool. Some Maokai synergies in there. It's a decent card on its own. Obviously, only in sort of deep decks and decks that care about tossing. Maybe you could build something slightly different with it. About more death synergies with it. I don't know. But a cool card nonetheless. Dragon Chow seems like it definitely could go in all-in dragon decks. If you've got enough dragons in there, particularly if you're running like Herald of Dragons. You play it on 1, Herald on 2. On 3, you play Shyvana or the 4/4. Seems pretty good. To draw that card, seems absolutely fine. Towering Stonehorn, unfortunately, I don't see it for this card. I don't know what deck. This deck has a clear synergy. What deck does this go in? I have no idea. Personally, I have no idea. Kind of an expedition card, I think. Ancestral Boon. There might be something with this card that I'm missing. It's possible, but I don't think I am. And I think it just costs a bit too much for its effect. And kind of similar for Spoils of War. Like, it's not impossible that this card could be decent, but I just don't quite see it now. So that's going to end this video here. I have rambled on a bit, but we did have quite a few cards, and they were quite interesting, some of them. So, with that said, I will be back tomorrow at 5:10 to see you with some more cards, and yeah, I'll see you then.